I've never liked driving in the rain, but that night, that storm was something else. It was late October, and I was heading home after a double shift at the diner. The kind of night when thunder doesn't just rumble, it shakes your chest. The wipers were fighting for their life, barely clearing the windshield. The forest on both sides looked like a wall of shadows bending under the wind. And then I saw it. A small wooden house on the right side of the road. Light in one of the windows. That's what caught my eye. Because I drive that road every night, and I swear on my life that house had never been there before. A second later, my car sputtered, then died. No power, no lights, just rain hammering the roof. I sat there for a moment trying to restart it, but the key just clicked uselessly. Then lightning flashed again, and the light in that window flickered like it was calling to me. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe the panic, maybe the cold, but I got out. The rain was so heavy I could barely see my own hands. By the time I reached the porch, I was soaked through. I knocked 3 times. A few seconds later, the door creaked open. An old woman stood there, white hair tied back, eyes bright and kind. She smiled at me and said, "Come in, dear. The storm's a cruel one tonight." The house was warm inside, lit by a small fire. It smelled like wet pine and tea leaves. I thanked her and sat down near the fireplace. That's when I noticed the photos on the mantel. All black and white, all showing the same woman, her hair, her face, her smile. But the people standing next to her, husband, children, friends, looked wrong, faded, like they were halfway erased. When I asked if she lived there alone, she just said, "Oh, I have company now and then." And then she smiled, that same smile from the photos. I tried to stay calm, asked if I could use her phone to call a tow truck. She looked at me, still smiling, and said, "There's no phone here, dear. Not anymore." A thunderclap rattled the walls. The lights flickered. For a second, I saw her reflection in the window behind her, and in that reflection, her eyes were pitch black. My whole body cold. The smell of smoke filled the air. I turned toward the door, but the hallway had changed. It looked longer, twisted. The wallpaper was burned and peeling. I ran, stumbling through the smoke until I burst back into the rain. When I looked back, the house was gone. Just an old burned foundation, covered in moss and ash. When the sheriff found me the next morning, he said an old widow had died there, in a fire, exactly 50 years ago that night. And every few years, someone new sees her house, and every time, the storm is the same. This happened 3 years ago in Pennsylvania. I was renting a small cabin in the woods for a few weeks while finishing my college thesis. It was peaceful until the storm season hit. That night, the rain sounded like static against the glass. I was writing by candlelight because the power had gone out. It was close to midnight when lightning lit up the forest outside, and for a split second, I saw someone standing among the trees, tall, still, watching.
I froze. My first thought was that maybe it was a hunter or a lost hiker, but the storm was too wild for anyone to be out there. I went to the window, trying to look again. Nothing. Just black trees and rain. Then, a few minutes later, another flash, and this time the figure was closer. Halfway to the cabin now. I remember whispering, "No, no, no," under my breath. The power came back for a moment, just enough for the radio to hiss, and then 3 soft knocks on the front door. I didn't move. I just sat there, staring at the door, listening to the rain and thunder. Another 3 knocks. Louder, steadier. I called out, "Who's there?" Nothing. Only thunder and my own heartbeat. I grabbed my flashlight, forced myself to look through the window, and there he was, right at the glass. Face pale, hair plastered to his skin, eyes wide open, watching me. I screamed and stumbled backward. When the next lightning flash hit, he was gone. The police came in the morning after I called them, shaking. They found footprints in the mud leading straight from the forest to my window, but none leading back. The sheriff didn't look surprised. He said I wasn't the first to see him. Locals call him the Rain Watcher, a man who drowned when the river flooded decades ago. They say every time a thunderstorm hits, he comes back, looking for someone else to take his place. Even now, years later, every time it rains, I still feel that same presence. And sometimes, when the lightning flashes outside my apartment window, I swear I still see him, watching. Back in 1994, I worked at a small-town radio station in Michigan. It wasn't much, one of those late-night stations where people called in to tell ghost stories or talk about UFOs. I hosted a segment called Ghost Lines. It was Halloween night, and a thunderstorm was tearing the sky apart. The power flickered every few minutes, so we were running on backup generators. It was just me and my producer, Kevin, in the building. Around 12:17 a.m., the phone line lit up. I answered, "WBRM radio, you're on Ghost Lines." A woman's voice came through, quiet, shaking. She said, "I don't have much time. It's in the house." I thought it was a prank, like most calls we got, but there was something in her voice, raw terror. I asked what she meant. She whispered, "It's watching me from the doorway." Static filled the line, then a deep sound, like wind mixed with growling. She cried out, "Please, you have to help me." Then the call cut to pure static. I looked at Kevin through the glass booth. He shrugged, pale as a sheet. I tried to trace the call. No number, no signal, just unknown. Before I could hang up, another voice came through the same line. A man's voice, calm. He said, "You shouldn't have listened." And then the power died completely. The entire station went black, except for the red on-air light glowing in the dark. I heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, wet, like someone was walking through the rain inside. I called out for Kevin, no answer. I looked toward the booth window and saw a shadow standing behind the glass, too tall to be him. The phone rang again. The display showed our own station's number. I answered it with shaking hands. The woman's voice came back, this time whispering, "He's behind you." I turned, and that's the last thing I remember. When they found the station the next morning, the doors were locked from the inside. Kevin was gone. So was I, at least for 2 days. They found me wandering miles away, drenched and incoherent. The broadcast tape survived, though. It's mostly static, but at 12:47 a.m., there's a single clear whisper on the recording. The storm never ends. They say thunderstorms wash the world clean, but sometimes the rain doesn't wash.